name is Dominic, and I'm privileged to have you. On this program, we look at curriculum policy matters to do with curriculum reform, the digital literacy, and other current issues as far as education is concerned. And I'm privileged to have with me on my show my friend, my guest for today, Mr. Dominic Muasya. Dominic Muasya is the founder Kenya Education Fund, but he'll tell us more about that. Most welcome, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Start off by telling us who is Dominic? Dominic the person.
Well, you already said my name is Dominic Muasya. I'm the co-founder of Kenya Education Fund, which we started about 9 years ago. Besides that, I'm a public health officer by training, and I'm also a family person and a farmer.
A big time farmer.
Yes.
Thank you.
Trying.
Not trying, doing it. I think you're doing it.
Yeah.
Well, I want us to look at curriculum reform to start with. We are talking about reforming the curriculum. It has been there, and you have something to do with education. I'll ask you, do we need to reform the curriculum?
Yes, I think there's need to relook at the curriculum and to ask ourselves whether it is serving the needs of Kenyans. And whether it's achieving the intended purpose. The current system that we have in the 844 was started over 30 years ago, and I think 30 years is a long time. So there's need to align ourselves with what else is happening in the rest of the world, and to make sure that we are not left behind by having a system that is both cost effective but also addressing the needs that we are having as Kenyans.
What do you think that 844 is not doing? When 844 came those many years ago, and most of us, me included, happened to be a product of 844, it promised a lot, self-reliance and many others. What do you think 844 never delivered? Or why do we have to think of replacing it now?
Personally, that's a question I still ask myself, because I am a product of 844, and if you are to ask me, I am doing okay, and so are many others who are in leadership positions. So when 844 came, I think it was addressing the needs of that time. It was a good system, but like I said, at some point we needed to maybe realign ourselves with the rest of the world to make sure that we are not left behind. I don't know what changed along the way, because when it came, we were talking about self-reliant, producing people who are able to address the issues that are happening in their locality, and that was happening. But maybe the concept changed, or maybe the mentality of the system changed, and we started refocusing on maybe academic performance and things like that, and we might have lost something in that process.
So the question now is, if we say that we need to reform the curriculum, okay, what then do we need to do? I'm hearing of things like competence-based, value-based system of education. In your opinion, what is this that you think we need to do in a very radical way, so that we can say that the education system is both producing, as you have said, somebody who serves the purpose?
What we need to do is first of all agree to adhere to whatever system that we are coming up with, because I am not convinced that we were very faithful to the 844 system. Had we stayed faithful to it, maybe we shouldn't be even talking about the curriculum review. But now we are past the point of saying we are reforming or not. It's already agreed, it's a government project, we need to review the system. But then once we review that system and we have something, we need to be able to stick to it. First of all, we need to have students who are not theoretical thinkers. We need people who are practical. We need people who can assess a situation. We need people who are not just going to school for the purpose of passing exams.
Yes, the so-called 21st century thinking skills.
The so-called 21st century thinking skills. And maybe it has something to do with the mentality, like I said, where we have teachers telling students, once you finish or once you graduate, you will be employed. I think the idea is about getting knowledge and skills that can be applied after the school process.
Can that one be done? Can we do that when we are so steeped into passing exams, academic oriented, so you associate?
If we commit ourselves as a society, yes, it can be done. If we start focusing more on passing exams, more on academics, yes, it can be done.
Now, with your experience, did you say 9 years experience in the KEF?
Yes.
Having been sponsoring students who have gone through the system, and I'm aware that you may even have some stories of people who have gone out.
Yeah.
What is your experience in as far as the relevance and the employability of our graduates, both, at all stages, from primary, secondary, university? How relevant are they to the job market? How well do they fit?
Right now, I can comfortably say that graduates are not very well prepared for the job market. I have come across many employers who tell me that the students we are generating or the students we are producing still have to go through retraining for them to be able to fit into the work environment. So the way we are taking the students through the education system does not prepare them adequately to be able to serve in the job market. They have a lot of theory, but then they lack the skills, or they are not able to apply that theory in the job market.
Now, then the question arises: if we are going to change, who are we going to change? Are we going to change only the students, or are we going to change the parent? Are we going to change the teacher?
I would say everyone needs to change. It's a societal issue. It's not just the school, it's not just the student, it's not just the teacher. Because a lot of times the teacher is under pressure with the parent to make sure that the student scores an A. We have cases where parents will actually go to school and ask why the students are not having holiday lessons. The teacher is also under pressure, maybe from the principal or from the system, to make sure that they have a certain mean grade.
Or some ground,
yes.
So-called covering the syllabus.
Yes. And then the student is also under pressure to perform better than another student elsewhere. Or maybe they want to prove a point to their parent, or even impress the teacher. Yeah, so I think the whole societal thing needs to change the mentality of how we look at the education system overall. Yeah.
And in your opinion then, and again, you have being a product of it for that, we need to change.
Yeah.
And also being kind of a financier of these students, what are the core competencies that you think that these students really need to acquire by the time? And especially I'm interested in those ones who are leaving Form 4 and those who are leaving university, because they have to go into the job market.
There is need to have career readiness for the students when they are still in high school. We have a lot of situations where a good number of students will say they want to go and do medicine, or they want to go and do engineering, or they want to pursue a certain profession. But they have no idea what that means. They have no idea what qualifications are needed for them to go to university and study that particular profession. They also have no idea how long it takes. They have no idea, once you qualify, what exactly do you become.
So you're talking about career guidance. Somehow we have to strengthen that department.
There needs to be career guidance. We also need to have life skills. We need to sharpen the soft skills of the students, because it's not only you qualifying for that course, it's also about how you relate with other people. It's about where you go and seek information. It's about how you become a role model. It's about how you take advantage of the opportunities around you.
You wanted to mention about an example in career guidance. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to give an example or talk about a program I'm involved in. It's called Bridge to Employment. It's
Bridge to Employment.
Bridge to Employment. It's about preparing students for the job market, but the process starts at an early stage. So we identified about 50 students from 2 different schools, 25 boys, 25 girls.
Is it part of the KEF project or something different?
It's a side project
of KEF.
We were approached by Johnson & Johnson and FHI 360 to implement this. I think it's the only one outside of South Africa, in Africa, and 22nd one in the world. So students were identified when they were in class Form 1, who have an interest in health-related careers. And so By the end of the second year of the program, only 46 were still interested in pursuing health-related careers.
Why? What happened? Dropout?
Because one, we brought experts to talk about health-related careers,
Yes.
different cadres. Then we took them to Nairobi Hospital, Nairobi University School of Medicine, where they were able to sit in a lecture hall together with other medical students.
Yes.
After that, we took them to the labs, we took them to the anatomy labs, after that, mortuary and all that.
You went all the way up the moor with them?
Yes.
You are scaring them, you're scaring them away, man.
But that's the real deal. That is what they needed to know. After that, we took them to Kenyatta National Hospital and other hospitals where they spent a whole day shadowing a professional.
Yes.
If you wanted to be a doctor, you spend a whole day with a doctor
Yes.
or with a nurse or
Yes.
with someone else. And then at the end of that day, you're able to join all the links. So if I do biology, this is the university I'm likely to go. This is what I am likely to experience in the university. And this is the person I am likely to
To end up
become.
looking like.
Yes. And once I become this person, this is what I will be doing.
Correct.
So career guidance needs to be a comprehensive process. It's not.
So you give me an example of what you want to do at the university, going to hospitals. What came out of that project? Of the bridge to
The bridge to employment.
Yes.
One thing that came out very clear was that if students are informed in good time, they are able to make informed decisions about the careers they want to pursue. There's also a need for the students to be taken through those different stages of the career process so that they are able to link the different components.
Yes.
So if they are in class learning about biology, chemistry, then they are able to know this is how we are likely to apply that.
Yes.
This is the person I am likely to become. And once I become this person, this is what I am likely to be doing. And then with that information, they're able to make a decision in good time on whether they want to pursue engineering, on whether they want to pursue medicine, or whether they want to pursue something different.
So that one now ties into the curriculum reform, as in you're trying to say that it is not just a question of acquiring knowledge. They actually need to see the knowledge at work, the competencies themselves.
Yes, yes, precisely. And something else in addition to the career guidance, I mentioned mentoring. Out of the 50 students, if I can still use them as an example, out of the 50 students, 9 of them became leaders in their respective schools, either elected or appointed in leadership positions, be it a class prefect, be it a school captain, be it something. And we attributed that to the kind of life skills and the mentoring.
The exposure to give them in the classroom.
Because then they are able to stand before the classroom and communicate about a certain subject.
What was the spread of the 50? How far are they spread out in the Republic? And how far have you gone in that program? Are you starting or are you finished with it?
Due to the model of the program, we were only able to work with 2 schools. We have one school in Tala, Tala High School, and another school in Kiambu, St. Anne Gishosho. And we can only work with the same cohort so that we are able to follow them in the different stages of their high school life. So at this point, they are sitting for their KCSE. Yeah.
They are doing a KCSE this year?
They are doing their KCSE.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So are you also still going to follow them after they move on to the next level if they're able to succeed?
We are going to follow them up. We would want to be able to tell a complete story. That these are the people we walked with from one. These are the things we did with them. And these are the universities they ended up joining. And maybe eventually, if we are still around, we would want to know what kind of people they became. Yeah.
These are the medical professionals that they ended up becoming?
Yes.
Okay.
And not all of them ended up wanting to be in the medical field. And that to us was also a success because then they are making an informed decision about, realizing that they are not wired.
So those ones who opted out of the medical field and maybe opted to do something else, are they still retained in the cohort? They are let go?
Yes, they are.
They are still retained?
They are still retained.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think we will have to take a short commercial break. At that particular point, we have addressed the issue of curriculum reform. When we come back, we look at the issue of the digital literacy, the role of how we can use ICT as a learning tool. With that, our viewer, don't go away. We'll come back. Keep on it, keep watching when you watch and learn. We are on Education Matters with my guest, Mr. Dominic Muasya. Dominic Muasya is from Kenya Education Fund, and we now want to switch gears. We want to look at DLP, the Digital Literacy Project, otherwise known as the Digi School or the Laptop Project. From your exposure, I know you are a digital person. What are the advantages of going digital as far as learning is concerned?
I think there are many advantages of going digital. First and foremost, I hope it will reduce the baggage of books and the burden that young boys and girls have to endure every morning while going to school.
Yes.
We see standard 1 pupils or standard 2 pupils carrying up to maybe 10 kilos of books every day.
Per day, to and fro.
To and fro.
Yes.
That's a huge burden. Yes. If they have to do that for 3 months, for 1 year, for 8 years.
Would that be a health concern?
I would think so. It could result to some health complications because they're always carrying a load, which would be against health recommendations. I'm also thinking that teaching will become easy. Instead of the teacher having to mark maybe so many books, then they can go online and maybe make their work easier. It could also be a good platform for students to receive their homework and also send it back to the teacher. It could also, start informing students in good time. I'm not sure about you, but I learned how to use a computer after I was done with college. So had I started when I was in class 1, definitely I would be more knowledgeable on a lot of other things.
Are you saying you met the computer after you have gone to secondary school, the college, you have made it in the office?
It was not even in an office. I was working in a very rural
setting,
part of this country, and the only computers in that area were in the Catholic mission. So that's where I enrolled for evening classes, and that's where I had a computer in front of me, personally making use of it. Yeah. So another advantage would be in communication and sharing of educational material between one school and another school, or even between a school in this country and another school in another country. So I think that would enhance and improve the quality of learning.
But I'm concerned about several challenges. I believe that for us to do a really effective e-learning, we have to address a number of factors. One of them is the hardware, or the so-called devices.
Yeah.
The other one is the software. The other one is the availability of internet and the affordability of internet, for that matter.
Yeah.
From your experience, what do you think about those areas? The devices, are they affordable? Are they available? The content, do we have it ready?
Now that it's a government project, I would hope that the government would make the gadgets available to all the students and pupils who need them. And also it would have the supportive infrastructure. For example, the electricity. We are aware of so many localities in this country that are not connected with the power. And then there will be the issue of internet. Do we have internet across the country?
Can we afford it?
If the government is going to make it available, I would think the government needs to be able to make it available anyway. Yes. But we know many schools that are still struggling with basic issues like even food, or maybe even books, or maybe the school doesn't have windows. I have been to places in this country where students learn under a tree. How do those issues get addressed? So I think whereas the idea is very good, but the implementation of the same needed to be thought for a slightly longer period.
I would like to know, from your experience with the secondary schools, as far as you have interacted with them, with the students you are sponsoring, what is your hands-on experience in as far as the digital readiness? Do you feel like the schools are really ready? When you walk those schools, do they have the computers? Do they have internet connectivity? The secondary schools specifically for now, because I think that's why KEF is interacting mostly.
A good number. I would think maybe 80% of secondary schools in this country don't have computers.
80% don't have?
I would think 80% don't have computers or don't have the literacy required to be able to handle a computer. I have interacted with teachers and principals who have never used a computer, or maybe who don't have any idea as to how that can happen. in their school. So it would be a good idea to first of all make sure that the current high school students and maybe all the schools in the country are supported to have a computer lab which is connected to the internet. Yeah. And then take the teachers through some form of training so that they can then be useful to the students.
Now, the laptop project is basically designed for the lower primary, going up there.
Yeah.
And I imagine that the idea is start from the bottom and then climb up. Then the question arises, do we have to wait for it to go the full cycle for this for every child? These people in the primary school, the students in secondary school, even the guys at the university, do we have to wait for them to go through the cycle? Can we have an approach whereby we are providing the same digital literacy at almost all levels, almost simultaneously?
We needed not to wait. We needed not to wait for 8 years for every child in a primary school to be able to benefit. I think whereas this was a good idea, but then we could have considered putting up a very good computer lab in a school and have it in the timetable in such a way that every pupil in that school will visit that lab at least once a week, having taken the teachers through that process. Because if we only have a device for class 1 pupil, but then the class 2 pupil doesn't have.
The class 5 doesn't.
The class 5 doesn't have. All the way to class 8 they don't have. Then they see their younger brothers and sisters getting the exposure. They had the opportunity to be exposed and they are going out of the school without getting exposure. And it's also not a guarantee that everybody who will qualify from class 8 will transition to high school. So this could be the only opportunity they had for them to get that kind of an exposure. And they missed it. Yeah, so I think we needed to maybe provide a very good lab, get it connected to internet, have the electricity connected to the school, and have an opportunity where everyone can come and benefit.
I would also want to look at the same element of e-learning or digital literacy from not only from the setting of the school. When these students come home, because like now we are on holiday and they'll be on holiday for almost 2 months. They'll be out of school in November and December. Don't you think that if we really have a good system, the learning could continue while they're still at home? Because the fact of the matter is, they're interacting with our smartphones and the tablets that we have, for the privileged few that have them at their homes.
If the process was maybe well thought of, then that could have continued. For example, we are having a break of 2 months. So for the whole 2 months, these people will not be having any exposure or any device to be able to use at home. So I think if we had a comprehensive way of looking at it, then this could have been extended to their home as well.
In fact, the reality is that we have a divide. Some will get, others will not get. There are some kids who walk home, they go, they find their laptops, they may not be theirs, but the parent, maybe you have a child, you have a laptop. The other child goes to the other home, they have not even power. That brings in the element again of division and kind of iniquities.
That's a huge discrepancy, because then someone else who did not get will be wondering why I also did not get the same device. And they could be neighbors going to the same schools. So this parent will actually be wondering why didn't the other kid get, and those kind of issues.
Still learning around e-learning or digital literacy. I'm also looking at the role of social media. Where do we place social media in as far as the curriculum is concerned? When you take those tablets to school, when you bring the internet connection to your schools, how do we ensure that the noise of social media does not drown the learning?
Unless there is a deliberate effort to make sure that whatever gets into that device is first of all checked,
filtered,
or filtered to make sure that these kids don't get unnecessary exposures. There's a lot of information in the social media, but not all of it is good for the recipient. So there needs to be a deliberate effort to make sure that all that content is filtered and this kid is only able to get what they need at that time.
Still on the same, you are a sponsorship body. You go out of the way, you mobilize resources, you sponsor what we may call disadvantaged or vulnerable members of the society. And what is your policy as far as this area is concerned? Because it also appears to be a case of disadvantage. As in, you look at the government policy, the best way I know it is that the government will provide laptops and e-learning in public schools.
Yeah.
But then there are three categories of schools. There's the public schools, there's the private schools, then you have the adverts. What happens to these other people who do not maybe benefit immediately as far as the delivery of e-learning is concerned? From your end as a sponsor, somebody who really wants to lift the forgotten, what do you have to say about that? What is your policy to ensure that there is no digital disadvantage or the digital so-called digital divide?
Well, as an organization dealing with only high schools, we try to have our students go to schools that have the infrastructure and that have e-learning opportunities. But also looking at it, I think government should treat all schools equally and all the kids equally. I mean, each kid should benefit from whatever opportunity that is availed at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, then the issue arises here again. In the instance where we have a school that is just not benefiting, or maybe this kind of reluctance, how do we manage to break through the inertia where maybe the devices have been delivered, the training has been done, but it's not being taken up?
It should be a government policy. One, to ensure that all the devices are distributed to all the schools at the same time. It should also be a government policy that all the teachers are inducted and taken through whatever steps that need to be taken for that opportunity to benefit the recipients. Yeah, so there shouldn't be this school is benefiting and then the other school is not benefiting, and it's 1 year down the line and this school is hearing of computers in the other school and they are not getting. So I think the government should structure it in a way that everybody gets the device at the same time. All the schools get the necessary infrastructure at the same time and all the teachers get inducted at the same time, so that we don't have a lot which is benefiting and others.
We don't have gaps in the implementation.
Exactly, we don't have lapse.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's good. We will take a commercial break. When we come back, we'll look at now the Little Kenya Education Fund. Don't go away, everyone. We are still on Education Matters with my guest, Dominic Muasya. Don't go away. Stay tuned. Watch and learn. Now, I think it's the time for you to tell me about the Kenya Education Fund. Who is Kenya Education Fund?
Thank you for that question. Kenya Education Fund is a scholarship organization that was started with the aim of assisting needy students to access quality education in high school. With the idea of, with the goal of breaking the poverty cycle after the school process.
What's the vision? What exactly do you want to achieve?
We would like to see a poverty-free society through education. Yeah.
You told me you are one of the founders. I think you are two of you.
Yes.
Give me a snapshot. Why did you start?
This started way back about 10 years ago. In a small town called Loitoktok, at the base of Mount Kilimanjaro, where I was working for the Ministry of Health as a public health officer. At the time, I had a volunteer in my office who was an American Peace Corps, and together we came up with the idea of starting the organization. Of course, at the point of starting, it was not really an organization, it was just an idea. So at the point where we decided to register, which was 2007, we already had about 150 students.
That's 9 years ago.
That's 9 years ago, yeah.
So how do you show me, how do you transit from a health person to an education person? Because now you seem to have become an educationist in your own life.
I must say that being a health professional and especially a public health officer gave me the opportunity to appreciate the needs that are there in our societies. because when I worked in that office, one of my duties was to visit people in their homesteads and to share with them health messages. And then more often than not, I would come across a situation where I'm walking down, visiting this family with a very powerful health message, but I realize maybe they didn't even eat, and they are not sure of the next meal. Of course, my message would change.
You have to modify it.
Yeah,
automatically.
I would have to modify that message so that we sit down, and maybe sometimes I even have to give them hope that tomorrow will be a better day. And personally, when I was thinking about it, I realized that if these people don't have a way out of this cycle, they will remain poor.
Yes.
And because of poverty, they are not going to school. And because of not going to school, they still remain poor. So how do we break that poverty cycle? And I felt that education was the right tool for that. Yeah.
So you feel that education will take care of the socio-economic needs as well as the health needs?
Yes. Because once they are well educated, then they can go out and get a meaningful employment.
Yes.
From which they'll be able to address their other needs. Two, if they are knowledgeable, they are educated, then their uptake of the health messages will be easier, actually.
And you mentioned to me at some point that you actually started with the one girl in the primary school. Are you still sponsoring the primary schools up to now?
Yes, we started with a neighbor, with a neighbor's girl, and for me, I felt like if this girl was not assisted to go to a better primary school, they may never get any quality education. And we started with our own resources. The girl first, and then the brothers. We were able to transfer them from a public primary school to a private primary school. Obviously, at some point, we realized that the need was bigger at the high school level.
Yes.
So we shifted from supporting kids at the primary level and then majored in the high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was the history at the beginning. Where are you now, the present level of establishment and engagement? What are you doing now?
Well, right now we have had about 2,500 students who have benefited from us, who have gone through us. Currently, we have 820 active beneficiaries.
820 as we talk now?
As we talk today, 820.
Over how many counties, how many schools?
We have beneficiaries from all the counties in this country, so all the 47 counties are represented. We have people coming from there, and we work with 252 high schools across the country.
Yes.
It's a big number.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's terrific. I mean, you are doing a good, very big thing.
We believe so. We don't shout as much, but we believe so. Yeah.
Now, what are the requirements? What are the prerequisites for this needy person, the vulnerable member of the society who may need your help?
Yeah.
What are the prerequisites? What are the procedures of them soliciting or getting your help?
When we started, and especially me being a health professional at the time, our criteria was those students who are coming from HIV backgrounds. Either they had lost a parent, or their parents or one of the parents was suffering, and that kind of diminished their chances of going to the next level of education. So that was the criteria when we started. But then we realized there were other students or children who may not necessarily be from HIV backgrounds, or who are not orphans. They could be having both parents, but they have no means.
They're economically challenged.
They're economically challenged. If their kids are not assisted to go to high school, their children will not go to school. So our criteria number one is the level of need. We have to be convinced that this boy or this girl will not transition to high school unless assisted. Of course, we are an education NGO. They have to have the academic potential for them to be able to fully benefit from the opportunity.
What does the scholarship cover? What does it not cover and what does it not cover?
I would say it's quite comprehensive. We pay fees in full as prescribed in the fee structure. We buy uniform as advised by the school. We buy shoes. We buy textbooks. We pay for the academic trips, and they also become part of a mentoring stroke life skills program, where we bring them together to discuss about how they can be better people currently and afterwards.
Wow, that's great. Then the question is, could you give me maybe a few of the success stories? Have you had cases of students who have gone through your program and maybe they have even gone from secondary to university, even to a working environment?
Yes, we have quite a number of students who have finished university. They are either working in the country. Two of them are working in my office. They are our staff members. We have others who are doing very well in business. We have students who have gotten full scholarships to Ivy League universities in the US. One just graduated from Harvard University and has a full-time job in New York. We have others in Turkey on a full scholarship pursuing engineering and medicine. We have another one in Canada pursuing medicine on full scholarship.
As we talk now?
As we talk. We have another one who finished from 4 last year and they're in Cyprus on a full scholarship now. And all our students, wherever they are, they're different.
Remote TV, what value will it be to the education fund?
I would think two fronts. One is to sensitize those boys and girls who may not be aware of places where they can benefit, maybe get funding to go to high school. Elimu TV could also help us in reaching out to that Kenyan or to that person who is willing to support a student through Kenya Education Fund, in whichever way.
I've started by giving you this platform first.
Yeah.
That is a goal to start with.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, where are you? How do the beneficiary, the people who are prospective for the needy cases, where are they to get you?
We have an office along Gong Road. We are housed by the Central Church of the Nazarene. We are located there. People can also call us on...
maybe you can just address the camera and give them your contacts.
Yeah, they can call us on 0702 769 712. They can also reach us on 0739 173 603.
Sorry, please come back again and give the number slowly.
They can reach us on 0702 769 712. They can also call us on 0739 173 603. We also have a website, www.kenyaeducationfund.org, or they can email us on info@kenyaeducationfund.org.
Thank you. Before I let you go, your parting shot, what do you think is the real case for these needy members of society? You are doing a bit. What more do you think needs to be done?
This may be surprising to you, but I wish to work myself out of employment. I don't want to be assisting people for the rest of my life, and neither should other NGOs. I wish we could get to a point where every Kenyan young person has the opportunity to go to school with a better economic status, or where the government is able to provide quality education to all those who need it.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're going to be a farmer.
Yes, I am.
On a parting shot. Say something about that. From the medical health to education, now into farming.
I became a farmer, one, to just prove to my students that not all farmers failed in the education system.
Farmers are not failures.
Farmers are not failures.
Yes.
It is an occupation as any other occupation. And farming is not for those who never went to school. I have gone to school very well. And I am a successful farmer. I am keeping goats, I am keeping cows, I have chicken, and I'm also cultivating crops. And I am succeeding.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you very much. Everyone will stop at that point. I think it was great having my friend, Mr. Dominic Muasya. He has really given us a wealth of information, especially as far as how to lift the vulnerable members of society by giving them a lifting hand, and you're doing a good job.
Thank you.
Please don't go down. Viewer, we stop at that point. When you come next, we look at more on education matters in our next show. Keep tuned, watch and learn.